At the current state, I cannot recommend this game. The early access release version feels like a demo with a relatively high price tag. There is roughly 30 minutes of unique game experience here, stretched into 8 hours of rinse and repeat. Note that in the 8 hours I completed all available main missions and repaired all trails. I completed my playthrough by version 1.0.4. There are two major groups of how a simulator game can be designed. Either repeat the core loop over an extensive area, think Euro Truck Simulator 2 here, or a smaller area, think Car Mechanic Simulator 2021. In the former, the freshness of the experience is dictated by the width of the game world, in the latter by the impossibly large number of combinations of inputs. Both groups, of course, share the need of progression, of simplification of the trivial to tackle larger and larger challenges. In Ranger's Path, you play as a park ranger in American Park. Your tasks mainly consist of restoring dilapidated trails, photographing nature, and telling people to leave the park.
Guess that's the end of my day out here. Later then.
Out of the two major groups, Ranger's Path is more ATS2 than CMS 2021. Boy, simulator titles have creative names, am I right? Before getting into the individual categories, I need to mention that the simulator genre is among my favorites. In my 4 decades on this planet, I easily clocked in 4 digits in it. Now that I think about it, I clocked in more than 1,000 hours in just truck sims, starting even before Steam was a thing. Let's start with the good. Whoever is working as the level or map designer at the devs needs to get a raise. Within the same biome, they managed to create distinctly looking and memorable areas. Being surprised by what is behind the next corner was one of the highlights of my experience. The HUD design is pretty legit, easy to read, and containing most of the relevant information. Using the minimap as a watch face was an inspired choice. While the visitor card design is based on IRL design choices, the overall design approach and picture selection for the game version are of striking visual quality compared to the rest of the assets. Yeah, not a lot of good, huh? After the first couple of trails, I had the maintenance minigames listed among the positives. All, well, except the hammering, are wonderful tactile and mimic in-game actions. Unfortunately, there is no development of these mechanics. When one arrives to the 100 sign that needs to get the same 2 perfect taps from the hammer, one is rather tired of this shtick. There are many obvious fixes to this, so I'll just mention a couple. For a barely weathered sign, you'll need a single tap of the hammer. For a table that has been in the park since it was opened, you'll need 4. Bonus points for changing the look of the item, similar to how in CMS more random parts are more rusty. Create perks that make actions easier or completely skippable. A bit of a cheat on the character progression, but it fits well into the theme. Make it so the character gains access to better tools as they level up. Bonus points for specialization. For example, one hammer might require only 1 perfect tap on each object, but a different one lets you skip hammering on fences. While the photographing of various things by itself is implemented well enough, there's virtually no drive for the player to do so. There's a static museum and a few information boards around the park, but that's it. One fix that immediately comes to mind is to provide a reward for completing the information boards with an alternative costume or some other more functional perk. It goes without saying that the map needs to be improved to be able to tell at a glance where information is missing. The day-night cycle and the weather in general are fairly well implemented. However, if you get caught outside at the end of the shift, the weather just continues without skipping a beat in the morning. Some locations don't stop the rain as you would expect them to. Park visitors don't react appropriately to weather, and so on and so forth. Devs, please, if you decide to put weather systems and day-night cycles into your game, make sure that the world reacts to these appropriately. It is downright criminal to release a single-player game in 2026 without the ability to pause. I do not want to hear it. Seriously, devs, people playing single-player games partially play these games to enjoy an experience at their own pace. This is not acceptable. Please fix this at your earliest convenience. Now that I mentioned the current here, let me double dip in the how is it possible that this cannot be done in the current tier of our Dark Lord pool. Controls can be adjusted, like at all. This would have been easier to swallow if there was either a tool quick select via the 1 through 0 buttons or just tool auto switching based on context. Compare these two interactions.
Good to run into you. Must have left it in the car. Sure, Ranger. Have a good one.
Good to run into you. Appreciate the check. I'll get going. Catch you later.
The only perceptible difference is the little sound chime. The green flash on the correct answer is very quick, with the verbal responses lining up only sometimes with the outcome. This is simply not enough. In the negative space, I would welcome a sound effect as well. Further, make sure that either the resolution color stays longer or provide other means for the player to understand whether a correct choice has been made. This can be a log, an in-game report, heck, even a smiley or angry faces popping out of people. Literally any means of more feedback would be welcome. You might have already noticed the number in the top left. This indicates the player level. I have no idea why levels are included in the game at all. The only purpose they currently serve is to gate main missions. Look, I get it. I like to chase numbers too, but make it make sense on some level. Instead of leveling the character, provide completion percentages on either trail level, zone level, or item type level. If you want to base main mission content on something, use a more organic measure. For example, the morning after a story mission is concluded, drop a hint about the start time of the next story mission. You don't even have to have all of a main story mission available in a day. Say, you allow the player to see the first stage, then say that investigations are ongoing, and then provide the second stage a couple of in-game hours later, or even the next day. Another possible avenue for levels is to provide a sense of progression via perk points or Metroidvania-style unlocks. With the current system, it just seems that the devs are insecure about the amount of content in their product. Realistically, they should be, as I would label half of the time I spent in the game as padding. The game area is fenced by invisible death walls that teleport the player back. While I would appreciate some advanced warning, the lack of a warning by itself would not move this all the way to the bad pile. What makes the whole experience aggravating are the few seconds between getting the naughty player message and the inevitable teleport back a few steps. What takes the aggravating into the blood boiling are the random additional places this death wall is added. Do you want to cross a stream? Do you want to maybe jump down from a rock? Do you want to climb up on a mild incline? Nuh-uh. We require a few blood sacrifices and the correct phase of the moon to be able to proceed. Another thing that is loosely connected to the previous point, your character can't jump. I understand that an indie studio needs to focus on in order to create a product, but given how canned the movement feels in general, I would have expected that the engine already has a jumping animation ready to go that just needs to be tied to a button and enabled. It feels ridiculous that an athletically looking player character shrinks in impotence next to a stream my fat ass would easily jump over. In a proud tradition of padding out the game's runtime, a procedural quest generator is included under something called the callout system. Events boil down to either mundane, like a bunch of trash being generated somewhere, or half-baked, like a hiker getting lost and needing help. The only saving grace is that the callouts can be paused and the player can focus on the meat of the experience. Since we are covering traversal, a car has been included in the game, for only the Dark Lords know why. Not only does it go directly in the face of the theme, it is virtually useless as the roads connect places containing fast travel points. Furthermore, the implementation is very basic. There is no weight to the car. The engine noise does a great leaf blower imitation. In collisions, the car behaves like a fragile box. and it exposes how unoptimized the engine is. I would strongly suggest to remove the car as a drivable entity altogether. Ideally, I would also suggest to rework the map, but I know that that is more expensive. However, for possible future maps or a map expansion, the return on investment in focusing on adding on-foot content would outweigh addition of further roads that are going to be used once, if at all. Unfortunately, this game is built in Unreal Engine 5, and this automatically comes with caveats. At low light, ghosting is apparent. This varies based on the specific scenario, but people stick out like a sore thumb in general, as it is very difficult to produce anything close to human-looking skin within this engine. Lumen just does not allow for this. Lip syncing is suspect at best.
Good to know. Thanks.
Worst of all, optimization is absolutely atrocious. I have a 7800 XT at a native 1920 by 1080, i.e. Full HD. The card is struggling to keep a stable 60 FPS in the year of our Dark Lord 2026. I noticed that this might be tied to asset streaming or entity spawning, as the situation is worse when driving a car. There are a couple of transitions, but these only seem to play audio and are completely missing video. I'm not sure what happened here. Seems like a straight up bug. I noticed that the devs have been naughty with the park information panel. While the resolution of the game texture is a bit low to clearly read the small text, one can still clearly make out location names of Gibraltar and Washpool and Gondwana rainforests. Further, what seems like name trails in Gibraltar and Washpool. With a bit of searching, I was able to identify the places IRL. Links are in the description. In a more charitable read of the situation, the devs put together a placeholder asset to be swapped out later by using real-world place names and some stock photography. And a more cynical read, though, they grabbed this from a site somewhere and used it without attribution. I lean towards the devs grabbing this from somewhere, since the asset work near the museum is very basic compared to the park information panel. Resolution to main missions can be quite awkward. In one of the missions, you are supposed to look for a group of poachers and take a picture of them, like at the end. This is what happens on a successful mission completion. I did not edit a single second of this footage.
There they are. Get some photo evidence, Ranger, but keep your distance. These guys can be unpredictable, and they don't usually appreciate being interrupted. Don't let them see you. Well, the law's got them now. You know, I'm sick and tired of these poachers treating this park like their personal hunting ground. But those people won't be getting away with it this time. Now they're the ones who will find out what life in a cage is really like.
You take a pic, and just poof, the world state changes. This is so immersion breaking. I don't understand how no one at the devs flagged this. Similarly to some other things that were highlighted, there's an easy fix here. In the shown scenario, just take a picture, leave the site, and get the info dump about the arrest the next morning. It is much easier to hide a world state change while the player is not looking. One might protest that this doesn't solve the negative outcome, the possible negative outcome. However, I argue that it is better to end that side of the equation with a game over and try again screen than what the current implementation does on success. Heck, the game already does teleport the player back in boundary scenarios. Just do that if you are too pressed for money. Even that would be a better solution. At the end, I'll just mention a mishmash of random observations that illustrate the lack of attention to detail. Waypoint markers do not disappear from the map when reached. Trash clusters very unnaturally. You can see it like it's spread out here, while realistically it would be more closer to the trash can. It's just very weird. Lexicon is missing like a mark all red option, Admittedly, you don't go too many times into the lexical, it would be nice to have this. When filtering locations on the map, most locations cannot be seen while zoomed out, which is just a weird oversight. When selecting locations to be filtered on the map, a waypoint is sometimes placed behind the button, and the select color hangs around sometimes. Also, there is an inability to deselect all but one while filtering, or select all while filtering. This is fairly basic functionality for any filter, so I would have expected this to be present, but hey. I would have also loved to see a person complete on individual trails or on the map in general. I would love to see this game improve. I love the genre, and it is always nice to explore a new activity in a competent implementation. Hopefully I will be able to come back later and report on a positive turnaround. This has been TSB, and I'm signing out. Bye.